Hey, welcome to Out of Bounds Sports Talk. We're just regular dudes talking about regular things in sports. Sometimes we may cuss.
It happens.
Be advised.
Send the kids away.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Out of Bounds Sports Show. It's our first show. It's a podcast. We're very raw here. I'm Nick. I'm a self-admitted degenerate gambler. Pretty good husband, but this is
I'm Darren. I am a husband and a father, as well as Nick.
Fellow degenerate gambler.
Above all else, I am a sports fanatic. Always have been, probably always will be.
It's the understatement of the year, fanatic. Well, I'm going to just jump right into the first topic here. It's one of my personal favorites. GSP, he undergoes successful knee surgery, and some have said that he's a fragile pussy. I don't know where they get that, but personally, I actually think that I think he kind of gets a bad rap for not finishing people. To be honest, you know, I know you and some other people that I know have kind of been critical of him.
I'm not saying I don't. Fuck.
Go ahead. Hit me with it.
No, I lean forward for the mic. I'm not saying he doesn't finish people. I'm saying he hasn't finished anyone in quite some time.
And you'd be right.
He's protecting that belt. He's too scared.
Don't be scared, homie.
Exactly. Don't be scared, homie. Don't fake some knee injury because you don't want to fight Nick Diaz.
Come on.
You don't want that punk ass to come out and embarrass you in the cage is basically what's happening.
Fucking Momo from Stockton who acts street everywhere he goes. I don't know if I believe it.
No.
Cuts like paper.
No. He is street.
He's street, I believe he's street.
Him and his brother will go in there. They'll fight the entire goddamn arena. They don't care.
I also believe he can't do math. I mean, he's looking to get paid. And meanwhile, they're paying the guy seven figures
true.
here.
But you can't deny that he's probably the biggest contender for that belt.
No, I can't deny that at all. Actually, I've been a fan of Nick Diaz for a long time. I mean, you know, for me personally, I feel like I kind of have to go with who I've been watching longer. You know, when people tell me who do you want to win, and it's two guys that I like or who I've been following for a while, I usually tend to go with the guy who I've been watching longer, and I've been watching GSP longer than probably anybody. But I am a fan of Nick Diaz. I think that I don't know. You know, I think he's kind of, you know, turn a corner, if you will. I mean, he's a guy that's
definitely
finishing people. You know, some might argue that you know, they're only strike force. I mean, if you ask Michael Bisping, he would just call them a bunch of strike force rejects. But you know, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I mean, there is a reason why the UFC purchased Strike Force. I mean, there must be something redeeming over there in terms of talent. I don't know. You know, I like Nick Diaz. I think he's as deserving as anybody for a big contract.
Definitely.
You know, title shot. Like I said, I think he turned a corner, and you know, just in being able to finish people, being able to throw punches and bunches, and just really play to his strengths. You know, and that would be his cardio. I really love watching his scrambles on the ground. Actually, both the Diaz brothers. I'm not the biggest fan of the Cesar Gracie camp necessarily. I'm not a big fan of Gracie's in general. Sorry,
they're all a bunch of shit talkers.
Yeah,
that's what they do, and then they represent Stockton and all that garbage. But I just like the way he fights. I like the way he goes in there.
Yeah, no,
he gets ghetto. He talks shit, and then he whips your ass.
Yeah, no, I mean,
what he does.
There's a lot to be said for that. I mean, I feel like his brother it's actually kind of crazy. You know, watching his brother, it's almost like watching another version of him.
Right.
You know, just almost like a smaller version. I can't really see
skinnier version. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost can't see Nick Diaz making 155 anymore. I don't know. He seems to. I mean, he looks like he put on a little bit of size. You know, I don't know. But yeah, no, I like Nick Diaz. I think that. I don't know. I don't think he could beat GSP. I think I've seen a few other interviews where some of the other fighters. I mean, everybody differs in opinion, but I think that. I think in that matchup, I just, you know, like I said, I think GSP has the ability to take him down, control where the fight goes.
For 25 minutes. This is exactly what he'll do.
He could, but,
he'll do that if there's ever a super fight with Anderson Silva. He's always going to go back to that takedown. He's a great wrestler. He's probably the best wrestler in the sport.
Yeah, no, there's no question about that. And, you know, again, I was one of the guys that, you know, I used to think that, you know, he would tend to win a fight or a super fight matchup with Anderson Silva. I don't believe that anymore. I mean, it's hard to go against Anderson Silva. I mean, how long's the guy been, you know, defending his title? 5-6 years now. I mean,
it's crazy.
It's almost to the point where I almost want to see the guy lose just so I know it's possible.
That's one big difference between GSP and Anderson Silva is he had a couple pretty boring fights. The one where he went in there and danced around 5 rounds. Who was that against? Was that Cote?
Which one? Oh, Anderson Silva, Cote, and I think it was another Brazilian. Was it Talis Latis, if I'm not mistaken?
Maia?
Damien, there's another guy. All Brazilians, coincidentally. I mean, there's actually some, and I'm not the biggest guy about internet smack and chat rooms and stuff like that. I'm not really that big into it, but there's a lot of people saying that there's like an unwritten rule with Brazilians where he didn't want to embarrass them too much or put them away. I don't believe that.
What kind of garbage is that? You kidding me?
Well, I mean, if you saw Damien Maia's face, I mean, I don't know that wasn't embarrassing. I mean, the guy couldn't even open his eyes,
Yeah.
You know what it reminded me of? It almost reminded me of like when you're playing somebody, in a game and you know you're going to kill them and you purposely kind of stall or drag your feet just so they kind of finish the fight. That's kind of the impression.
It's like he played down to his opponent. People talk about that in other sports all the time. Chargers are notorious for playing down to their opponent. I mean, in all honesty, last year they had everything on the line, and they go get the shit kicked out of them against Cincinnati, who was like a 2 or 3 win team.
Yeah,
but there's no reason why fighters can't do that too.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Unless you're making 7 figures and you're headlining a card. True, that's a tough one to get away with.
True.
Dana White after that fight, he said he was gonna possibly cut the guy. I don't know if I believe that. Where the fuck is that guy gonna go? But back to GSP. Everybody has been critical of him not finishing fights, but the one thing that I've always said is that I think he's coming up on 6 or 7 consecutive title defenses, and my argument would be just that when you're defending your title, regardless if you're fighting a style that's aesthetically pleasing to the fans, if you're finishing people by knockout, that's I think that's what our culture wants to see. We're a culture that loves power. We love home runs. We love
at least attempting to finish.
Well, I don't know. You look at the guys that he's fighting. They are the number 1 contender for the reason. They're the best that division has to offer, and that division's a deep one at that.
They're the number 1 contender at the time.
At the time,
yeah. And he's cleaned out his weight class. Let's be honest. All these people that are until Nick Diaz came over, he hasn't really. Until Nick Diaz came over, he really didn't have anybody else that he was going to fight, that the fans wanted to see. Exactly.
Maybe a John Fitch, a rematch, but...
Who wants to see that? He'll whip his ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't see that fight going any different. And, to be honest with you, I really don't like seeing 2 wrestlers fight each other, I think styles make fights. Styles make fights. You get 2 wrestlers. I mean... It's hard because if you get a guy that's he's a dominant wrestler, he can't play his strengths to beat the other guy,
Right.
So that makes it a boring matchup. And unless you have a situation like with Sonnen and Mark Munoz coming up, that's actually an example of 2 wrestlers fighting each other that I would actually like to see. And the reason for that is both guys are finishers. Mark Munoz has wicked ground and pound.
Well, it seems to me GSP goes up against these all whatever wrestlers. They were this and that in college, and he just wants to prove everybody that he's a better MMA wrestler than him, and he does.
And he does.
And he points them, and by no means am I saying that George St. Pierre is a bad fighter. I think he's one of the best fighters that we've ever seen.
Sure.
But
he can step it up.
I'm in the crowd of people that would like to see him start.
You want to see him take more risks.
Yeah, right.
And
exactly.
that's kind of been the knock on Greg Jackson's camp, is just that a lot of his fighters are point fighters.
A couple of them have even said so after the fight.
A couple of them said
that's exactly. I forget exactly who it was, but he said after the fight, well, that's what my coaches. I just.
And again, you always have the age-old argument. I mean, everybody throws down, the gauntlet, or they make a statement, and they're going to say that, well, Greg Jackson's camp is this and that, but to that, Greg Jackson's camp would say, well, we've won numerous fight of the nights, we've had submission of the nights, I think it's kind of hit and miss.
They also got a gym full of the best fighters in the world. I mean, I don't necessarily.
No, you can't argue with that, and that's. I mean, honestly, it's almost at the risk of throwing an old WWE reference in there, I hate to do that, but it kind of reminds me of the NWO. If you're a wrestling fan, you saw this group get just massive, and I don't watch that garbage anymore. For the record, it's garbage. You got to watch MMA. But
we did. Before the record, we were huge fans.
Christ's sakes, I was in high school. I never got laid. You can quote me on that.
Even low 20s.
Low 20s. Low 20s.
We lived in Alpine.
Alpine. Yeah. I'll go with that. Let's go with Alpine. I wasn't in a band, dude. Give me a break, dude.
But I'm just saying, I remember rushing home to watch that garbage. Speaking of WWE, did you go see your girl China this weekend?
Where was she at?
Oh,
never. I swear to God,
let's not play coy.
Where was she at?
She was dancing over
at the Deja Vu or something like that. Was she really?
Oh yeah, Friday she was down in Spring Valley at the
Spring Valley,
whatever you have it. That
man.
Little Darlings.
Well, she score some heroin after the show.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a career just going right down the dumps, man. That poor girl. I can never tell. I still don't know if she's a man. You can never tell because you look at her in one light, she looks smoking hot. And she's got biceps.
Yeah, well, you can't always depend on that light. You can't always depend on that light. You know, if I want to go see a tranny dance on a stage, I'd just go to TJ. It's like 10 miles down the road. Why do we stop?
For those that don't know, we live in San Diego. So.
San Diego, we're like 10 miles away from TJ.
Yeah, that's
scary place.
So yeah, I'm a little disappointed you didn't go see your girl China. I thought for sure that you'd be all over that. It seems like your kind of thing.
Nah, not me. I don't know, man. You know, somebody's got a bigger jawbone and it's more defined than my own.
It definitely looks like a gorilla. I got to give you that.
It's not sexy, but yeah, no. The NWO reference, it's a bad reference, but you know, Greg Jackson's camp, it's getting bigger and bigger. You know, Joe Rogan always says that iron sharpens iron. I actually think that's true. I think that's why it's the camp to go. But I think. My personal opinion is what you're going to. I think people are going to start, you know, doing what Rashad Evans did. You know, they're going to get what they can out of that camp, which is what they should do, and they should go somewhere else and constantly, you know, work on evolving their game. I don't necessarily think that you can get everything that you're going to get out of one camp.
Well, did Rashad Evans leave? I think Rashad Evans felt a little disrespected by the whole Greg Jackson camp. He's kind of old news right now that John Jones is kind of starting to dominate.
That's their boy. You know, that's their
golden child. But eventually he's going to lose, just like Kane did. So, I wanted him to lose his last fight, and it almost happened. That first round was pretty exciting.
Oh, Jones and Machida.
Yeah.
No, that was beautiful. That was some fight. I actually made a parlay with that card, and
of course
Machida.
you did.
Of course I did. I'm a degenerate gambler. Machida was like he was a minus 350.
Crazy.
I thought that was ridiculous.
Crazy.
I thought if anybody could solve this John Jones riddle, it would be a guy that can, you know, leap in and leap out and close distance.
And he
really
did.
Well.
He did
just that.
The fight happened a few weeks ago, so I'm not exactly. Didn't he slip or something? Somehow he ended up on the ground and he just started getting destroyed.
Yeah, and I think that's where people go wrong with John Jones. I mean, besides being having the wrestling pedigree that he has. He's got like the perfect body for what he does. I mean, he has long legs. He has an incredible base. It's it's really hard to get out from underneath the guy. You know, if he falls on top of you. And that was pretty much the story of the fight. I mean, once he was on top, he landed the elbow and
good night, cut him. It was over from there.
That was a wrap. As soon as I saw him underneath Jones, I was like, shit, what's he gonna do?
Yeah, and it was definitely I had the first round of Machida.
Oh, no question.
Every time it was so exciting watching him just kind of explode forward and John Jones realizing, what the hell just hit me?
And how do you train for a guy
Captain
like that?
Jackson's not teaching me this shit in the camp.
Captain Jackson doesn't have anybody in his camp. No. I don't think they can do that. You know.
But let's not get off topic here. We're talking about George St. Pierre.
GSP.
The thing is, Nick Diaz is fighting for the interim belt against Carlos Condit. I'm interested to see how you think that fight's going to go.
What are you liking that?
I hate Carlos Condit with a passion.
Do you? Why?
Dude's an asshole.
You just don't.
He just doesn't.
Another Jackson guy. You know.
Not just that. It's just this whole. He's another one of those guys that wins in these smaller shows and calls out the UFC champion, which for the life of me, I can understand. You think you're badass. You know, he is a good fighter. He keeps on beating guys I think he's not going to beat.
Sure.
But at the same time, Nick Diaz is a better fighter than him, and if Nick Diaz wants to fight GSP for that belt, he's going to have to beat him.
Well, there's two good matchups. There's actually, I would actually like to see both those guys fight GSP. And until they acquired Strikeforce and actually Nick Diaz jumped over after the fact.
Yeah.
And they had Condit. I think his contract just went up with. He came from WEC.
Yeah, Condit was WEC guy.
WEC, right? Yeah. So he had a couple fights in the UFC first. I like Condit. Just I like a guy that will go in there and not try to point fight. I mean, you saw that with.
GSP's your favorite fighter.
Well, it's what I like about Condit is that he'll go in there and he'll throw down. He'll throw bones. He won't. I don't like counterpunchers. I don't like counterpunchers that don't finish people. I think that's got to be. It's a double whammy for me when you get a counterpuncher in there who just wants to punch and can't finish anybody. You can't you can't finish anybody. Like if you I'm trying to think of a good example of that. KJ Noons. You watch the KJ Noon fight. That guy. Exactly. Yeah, that guy was looking to counter-strike the first 2 rounds, and the guy had nothing on his punches. He wasn't going in there. He wasn't throwing anything with bad intentions. I mean, that's a good example of a guy that I don't like that does that. And I didn't like KJ Noons anyway.
I just don't like KJ Noons, so I'm a little biased. I mean,
I never did.
When I was These last Strikeforce fights we just had, I was watching those totally different way I've ever watched MMA at all. I was listening to it on mute, and partly because the Strikeforce announcers are just terrible.
Well, could you find 3 words? I mean, say what you will about Mauro Ranallo. I mean, the guy, he's very shticky, but I got to be honest.
To say the least. And his new haircut, are you kidding me? That's
Jesus. I don't know what's worse, the haircut or the brutal jokes he keeps trying to crowbar in
or your boy's braces. Your boy's braces.
Are braces ever really going to fix that?
I mean,
are they ever really going to fix that?
What are you, like 60 years old, man? I mean,
I don't know, man.
Shouldn't you have thought about that when you were 15?
I don't think they need braces. I think they need some fucking power tools to help that guy out.
I mean, I understand, okay, fix your teeth.
Yeah.
And then get on the air.
But
I can't stop staring at his braces.
It's it takes away from the show, in my opinion. If all that wasn't bad enough, then you got Pat Miletich on the side, just for good measure.
Okay.
And I know you're a big Miletich guy.
Oh, huge.
Yes, they go way back.
Yeah,
way back.
So but no, that's the whole thing was once Nick Diaz gets past Condit, this is exactly how I think he will.
He's gonna get in the cage. I believe he will.
He's going to call out GSP again. He's why he's scared George. He's going to do all that.
He's going to.
Which is what he does. Which is what is going to sell that fight. It's going to. Can you think of a bigger fight in MMA right now than those two guys?
There's not, and
a lot of people don't know Nick Diaz. I mean, I think he's still kind of under the radar to a lot of the.
I think he is
a lot
too.
of the new fans,
the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
But to people that have been watching for a while, I can't think of a better matchup. I mean, other than completely going off topic here. No. A huge super fight, in my opinion, would be Anderson Silva and John Jones.
Yeah, that's what everybody's
watching Anderson Silva go up to 205 and just manhandle him would be terrible for the UFC though, because that's their 205. That's the golden goose.
Right. I mean, yeah,
he hasn't cleaned out the division yet. I understand a lot of things would have to happen, but
he hasn't. And at the end of the day, the UFC, they're in the business of selling fights. They have John Jones. I mean, now people are arguing that he's arguably number 2 in the world behind Anderson Silva. And pound for pound. That's the argument. That's what you see. In a lot of the websites, MMA Weekly. I think Sherdog had him up there at one point. I don't know. It's hard because there's so many people at 205. I mean, that's a very hard division to clean out. And if you look at the 205-pound division, I mean, how many guys have made consecutive title defenses at 205?
Yeah.
I mean, I think John Jones is about
first one,
it.
First one in quite some time since.
I think since Liddell or Jackson might have defended it once or twice. I kind of getting hazy on the
Jackson. He was a champion.
I know. So that's hard to remember. I think that was before. That was before a lot of things.
And I see he's got a fight coming up against. I forget who he's fighting.
He wanted Shogun in Japan.
That's not happening. He's fighting Ryan Bader. That's going to be.
That's an interesting matchup.
That is going to be. The problem with these guys, and same thing with you get these guys. Tito is. They're so one-dimensional, and the sport is kind of it's kind of sad to see him passing by.
It is.
The problem with MMA as opposed to other sports is you can't pull a Tony La Russa. You can't go out on top. I mean, when have you ever seen a guy go out there, win a belt, and say, you know what, peace, I'm out of here?
No, that's
been real. I'm the champ. Suck it. Nobody does it.
Yeah, no.
So they all get carted out. They come off a 3-fight stretch where they lose 2 of them badly. Maybe pull out Matt Hughes is going through that right now.
That's the life of a fighter. I mean that's the hurt business. That's people go out on their shield. That's the only way you go out.
Which is they're fighters. That's what you do.
And it's heartbreaking when you see a guy that you've been watching for so long not just seem inept compared to the to mixed martial arts essentially passing them by, but to watch him lose in brutal fashion is just that much harder to watch. But that's always the way it goes.
Randy getting front kicked on the face. I mean,
that was brutal.
We all love Randy. I think
you see the tooth.
I think every MMA fan
you can't love that guy.
Help but not love Randy.
You're never going to see another guy, but to watch him go out like that is just. It's hard. You can watch. If you just watch the last UFC, probably 2 of the most brutal finishes I've ever seen.
Definitely not a card that you want. Some of the naysayers out there, some of the guys saying that it's human
chicken fight
and stuff like that. It's definitely not a card that you want those guys to see.
Yeah.
At the same time, much better than UFC 1, where we just got a bunch of
you're watching the guy
bar fights. I mean,
30 or 40 unanswered punches to the guy. Guys unconscious. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I love, I love pugilism. I love boxing. A lot of boxing.
You love what?
Pugilism.
Okay.
Pugilism. Big word.
You have to explain that to me.
Yeah, no, it's but I love. I love all fighting. You know, I'm not just I'm not going to be like the
Still love boxing?
Yeah, I still do. To be honest with you, I don't love it, but I'll watch it. You know, it's hard to get behind boxing. It's so hard to follow.
I'll ask you a question. I asked somebody at my work the other day. He's constantly talking about boxing. We're always getting in this argument, and he talks about MMA just laying on each other. But when's the last time you paid $60 for a boxing match and didn't feel like you just got fucked?
Well, fortunately,
you were at the end of that match, and you said, "You know what? This was awesome."
You know what? That was
such a great fight.
The last match that I felt that way, and the one that I actually paid for, would have been Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson. That was about 8-9 years ago.
When it was relevant, when we had heavyweights that were relevant.
Yeah, no, you just.
Could you even tell me who the champions are now? I mean, there's so many of them. There's so many
organizations.
There. I mean, it's just
It's hard to watch, and you watch. What I don't like is just the constant. Once they get a flow, people tie each other up. I mean, and guys that are. I mean, that's basically what boxing is. It's point fighting. I mean, very few boxers do you see it going in there.
GSP would be a fantastic boxer.
Well, maybe. Hey, he trains with Freddie Roach. he could just as easily get in there.
Well, we're plenty of time to argue about GSP.
Well, if I could just make one point,
you make your point. You broadsided me here.
The guys that he's not finishing. My only question, and not being a GSP nut hugger.
Do you have his? What is that? There is that his last 10 fights or whatever?
It's his fight list on SureDog.
Okay.
And what I wanted to know here, I'll even give it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
What I wanted to know was the guys that his last 6 title defenses. Who are the other guys that are finishing those people? Your Koscheck, Jake Shields.
I mean, we're A
Thiago
plus B
Alves.
doesn't equal C here. We can't.
It's MMA math, baby.
He's the best. He's
the best at what he does. But I'm just saying, the knock on him is that he's not finishing people. And what
you're telling me is,
who's finishing those people?
So,
you're looking at here. I'll go down the list. You look at a guy like Jake Shields. He just got knocked out. Okay, Jake Shields, and you know what? I could sit here and say, oh well, his dad died and blah 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 blah. But okay, all right, throw Jake Shields out. The guy had a 6-year win streak. Yeah, he had a 6-year win streak before he fought GSP, and he's 0-1 since. Okay, what about Koscheck? He was 11-3 going into the fight. And who's finishing Koscheck?
However you want to slice this, you slice it that way. He had chances and opportunities that he could take a risk and try to least throw a submission out there.
I would agree with that.
What's the worst that happens? GSP, you lose your belt. Dana, I mean, you're so far up Dana's ass, he's going to give you an immediate rematch, and you're going to point him. So, I mean...
You could.
When's the last time we seen him knock somebody out? Koscheck was a 5-round boxing match.
It was a 5-round boxing match. Couldn't get on a plane, by the way.
He jabbed his eye, but he did not. Did he last all 5 rounds?
He lasted all 5 rounds.
Okay.
But he couldn't see. Couldn't get on the plane.
Couldn't get on the plane.
Had to drive home from Montreal.
And you know what? Couldn't see, couldn't get on a plane, and he still didn't get finished.
Who's finishing that guy? Paulo Thiago? That was the only other guy. Everybody's not GSP.
So according to your math, Paulo Thiago is better than GSP?
No, not at all. Not everybody's got a puncher's chance, and he had one that night, and he came out on top. That's about it. I mean, that's the only argument that I have is just that I want to know who's finishing all these other guys. The GSP isn't. I would like to see somebody else finish. Thiago Alves.
That's a gray area argument.
It could be gray.
It's one way. It's one way to put on your GSP hat and look at it. Okay. There is. But on my side, I'm thinking, okay, well, he's the best in the world. We got 5 guys here that have. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I'm sure they've all been finished at some point in their career.
At some point, a good portion of them. But like I said, it all comes back to the point, And again, I'm always going to be biased because he's one of my favorite fighters, and I've been following him.
And he should be. He's a great fighter. I'm not trying to hate on him here, even though I'm kind of hating on him here. I would just like to see him.
You want to see him take more risks?
Yeah, finish a fight.
You know what I like about. One thing that I saw John Jones do in the fight against Shogun is that he's going to go to the Shogun's famous for leg locks, jiu-jitsu, But the thing is, what you'll see John Jones do sometimes with like 10 seconds, he'll hear the click of the sticks, and he'll drop down for a knee bar, something that he knows, even if it doesn't work out for him, he's going to get the points for it at the end of the round, and there's no way somebody's going to turn it around and put you away in 10 seconds.
Which, by the way, I was the 4th judge on the Strike Force last weekend. And no way to that. Oh, well, let me try to get a takedown with the last 10 seconds to steal the round.
Yeah.
I mean, I got beat on for 4.5 minutes, but I'm going to try to get a take.
Yeah.
We need some new system here.
It all goes back to the judging.
I don't know if you noticed, but did you notice John McCarthy was a judge?
I did. Yeah. I saw him sitting. You know what? I didn't know that he was until I saw it. But
I'm not sure if he judged the entire card or just the main event. Like I said, I was listening to most of it on mute. I would unmute it afterwards
just to find out,
just to hear what the fighters would say, and to see if they called out anybody, did anything exciting. But yeah, they said John McCarthy scored it, and he had it the exact same way Darren scored it. So.
The exact same way Darren.
So, and I'm not a judge, but I could probably do it just as good as Cecil.
I see. Well, anybody could do it as good as Cecil or any one of those other guys. I mean, the judging has always been suspect in my opinion. At least finally, if they're going to have McCarthy judge in the fight, at least they have a guy with credibility, a guy who's actually
100%
made the rules. I mean, I can't argue with that.
Why do we even need any more judges? What, is someone going to go down there and smack around John McCarthy?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, let's just have him do it.
Yeah, no,
him and Out of Bounds Sports Talk. We'll judge the fights from now on.
Yeah,
I got nothing else going on.
I can make time for sure.
But we're running a little long on this topic. You ready to switch it up a little bit? One thing I wanted to ask you: you watched the Gilbert Melendez fight?
Yeah, I did.
He dominated a guy that you probably never heard of. I never heard of him either.
You know what? He's one of those guys. I've seen the guy's face, but I can't place the name.
Yeah, which is a typical, a typical Strikeforce or a typical. I kind of want to say WEC, although I got to know
it's WEC reminiscent, I think.
Right, but I mean, it's a main of. I mean, that was for the belt. That was for the Strikeforce belt.
That's the best they have to offer in that division.
Right, and. One thing, I'm a big Gilbert Melendez fan. I think he's a great fighter. I think he belongs in the UFC. But one thing I cannot believe is how I've seen him as high as number 1 in the world on some of these rankings, and most of the rankings have him too. And
that's insane.
And what I wanted to ask you is how can you be a top 5 fighter and not be fighting in the best organization?
Having never fought anybody in the UFC,
it would be like saying like saying Bryce Harper's the best baseball player in the game or something like that. I mean, I'm not quite saying Strikeforce is minor leagues, but it's kind of minor leagues.
They have a lot of good talent there, but it's not top tier talent. If it was, they'd be making 6-7 figures in the UFC.
And for the longest time, there was always the argument, well, Fedor and blah blah blah, and you got Dan Henderson. Eventually, the best fighters over there start trickling into the UFC.
They all do,
and they all do. And
you can't.
And I think it's just a matter of time for Melendez. Melendez, I don't know if you saw this, but after the fight, he called out. And I can't remember the exact quote, but whoever the UFC champion is, come over to my hexagon. Like, give me a break, Gilbert. Why would UFC send their champion over to the hexagon of Strikeforce to defend his belt over there? Are you kidding me?
I think he's got it all wrong.
And the 3,000 people in attendance? Are you crazy?
I don't even think all 3,000 paid.
Oh,
I don't think they all paid.
It was. I didn't watch it live. I was watching the next morning, so it was pretty early. But I was like, this idiot. Are you kidding me? Why would he? I mean, I understand the whole pride of I'm pride to my organization.
Right.
They've brought me here. Homie, it's time to jump ship. It's time to go to UFC. It's time to legitimize what I think is a top 5.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I think the Melendez could I think he could challenge some people in the lightweight division. No question about it.
Do you think he could win the belt right now?
Right in the lightweight division?
Yeah.
No, I don't think. I don't think there's God, that's another deep division in the UFC again. I think that you would be hard pressed. I mean, I'm not looking at the top 10 right now, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find.
Well, it's funny you should say that because I printed it out here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would be hard pressed to find the top 10 fighters, not all UFC fighters. I mean, Donald Cerrone at number 9, I think that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
First thing on this list that jumped out to me is that we got the gatekeeper Clay Guida at 6. And then we got Donald Cerrone at 9.
Aoki? Who's Aoki beating?
Who is Aoki?
I think they sent him right back.
But I could see an argument when I looked at this. I just briefly looked at it when I printed it out. This top 10 right here, Gilbert Melendez, I see him, the exciting thing about Gilbert Melendez is he's got decent stand-up and he tries to finish fights. But I do think if you were to throw him, let's just say they had a little tournament, Frank Yeager, Gilbert Melendez, Ben Henderson, I don't know why all of a sudden they started calling him Benson. Kind of flew over on me, but
Benson.
Gray Maynard, I don't think he'd win that tournament.
No. Just looking at that right now, I don't think he'd beat Ben Henderson, Gray Maynard. I think he'd have trouble with Miller.
Jim Miller, very underrated fighter.
Definitely. Yeah. Anthony Pettis, I think that would be a tough one.
Anthony Pettis, I think he suffered from he got a little overhyped going into the UFC. I think maybe he had the UFC jitters. He's a good fighter. He's another cocky bastard, though.
Yeah, Anthony Pettis definitely cocky bastard.
I mean, come on, I like the cocky fighters. You know that.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, you gotta do something.
You gotta do something.
You gotta do something. I mean, where's your strap? Where's your paychecks? Where they at? And let's see them. Let's see them.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I like Gilbert Melendez. Like I had actually read a few things that there was some speculation that he was looking to get out of his Strikeforce contract. And I don't know exactly, which organization he was partial to,
But, they're owned by there's ways around it. If Dana wanted his ass in the UFC, he would be in the UFC.
He's done that with Jake Shields. He's done it with everybody he's had his eye on. So
with the exception of Fedor, who for some reason thought he should be getting, half of the company to fight, and we've all seen how that worked out.
Which, by the way, I think he's fighting a guy that's 4-0.
He just beat Jeff Monson. Congratulations.
I think next he's fighting a guy that's 4-0, and he won a gold medal. Judo, everybody. That's impressive.
Jesus. Well, we're running late on time. You want to throw in some other sports here? Or,
actually, what do you think? Actually, this is one I've been dying to ask you. What do you think about the Angels getting Pujols and
I
spending
think,
that jack? What do you think about that?
I can't fault the Angels. I can't fault the Angels at all. One thing they did by signing out Pujols. Can you think of on paper? And now keep in mind the Red Sox were the on paper team to win 162 games last year. How did that work?
Yeah.
But can you think of a better team on paper than the Angels? Keep in mind they're talking about keeping Kendry Morales. Who, a lot of people forget about Kendry Morales because he's not a big name and he hurt himself last season, but that guy is one of the best first basemen in the game.
No, that guy's a stud, man.
So you have Kendry Morales DH, and I don't think I'm rolling my R good enough. Morales.
It's hard.
You have.
Yeah, no, I think that I like what they're doing. To be honest with you, everybody's always made the argument. The Red Sox, the Yankees, they're the teams to beat on paper. They're the ones spending the jack. But again, New York's the biggest media market. LA being the second. How come you never heard of an LA team in the same conversation with those people?
The big difference between the Yankees going out and spending all that money. It's one thing to have a huge payroll. Everybody, we live out here in San Diego, so all these Powder fans want to complain about payrolls. And they want to compare payrolls and this and that.
Right.
It's one thing to have a payroll like the Cubs, who had a terrible season.
Right.
But at least the Yankees spend the money and they win.
They do win.
At least the Yankees win and they're there at the end.
And if they're not signing guys, they're right up in the thick of things before they...
If you were a Yankee fan, how can you not be excited every offseason knowing that your team will do what it takes to... They'll buy a championship. They don't care.
Well, as a baseball fan, that's always... I've said that since day one, that everybody hates George Steinbrenner unless... You would love him if he was in your city.
Yep.
You would never have a problem with that.
To me, going back to the Angels for a second, the whole thing with the Angels definitely makes them a clear favorite to win the West. I don't think there's any question about that.
I don't think there's any... everybody would say, well, but I don't know about the Rangers anymore.
Rangers take advantage of that ballpark they play in. They have an amazing offense.
Yeah.
Losing C.J. Wilson, who I'm going to admit I think is probably one of the most overrated starting pitchers to ever come into
I think so too.
to the sign. Did you see the kind of money that guy got paid?
It's ridiculous.
He's not even. You could argue if he's even in the top 5 starting pitchers on the Angels.
Do you even think? Do you even think that guy is consistent enough? Just in terms of balls and strikes.
I'm going to tell you what. We're weekend Warriors, Nick. You go out there. How many runs did the Angels score that guy? There's not a major league pitcher around that wouldn't love that kind of run support. Are you kidding me?
But where do you see him fitting in the rotation on the Angels? Honestly,
I don't know how they're going to want to mix up the lefty righty things.
Yeah.
But he is their fourth best starting pitcher in my opinion.
Yeah.
You got Jared Weaver, who's obviously their number one. He's one of the best pitchers in the game.
Right.
And I just don't know where they're going to send. Dan Herron maybe 5.
It could be. That's a hell of a problem to have with a rotation like
stacked.
that.
They're stacked. Avoiding injury, I don't see any reason why they won't win the West.
Yeah, I was going to say injury. That's always the question of the day. Barring anything crazy. I don't see anybody that's going to compete with a rotation like that. Even
one thing I found interesting is the day after that, I read somewhere where they sold something like 1,500 season tickets the next day. I can only imagine how much they've sold between that point. Which was, how long has it been? 2 weeks now?
Right.
And today.
I'm sure it's jerseys. What I want to know is how much did... so if you went out and bought season tickets the next day, were the prices of the tickets reflecting that signing?
I was thinking that too. I'm
sure they are now.
Well, and another interesting point that they made... it came out, I don't know, 2 or 3 days after they bought those two guys. After they signed those two guys.
Yeah, they bought them.
Yeah, whatever.
It is what it is.
Somebody's going to pay them. Somebody's going to
do it.
And the only... anyone paying that guy is going to get ripped off unless it's the St. Louis Cardinals. I remember you sent me a note in the middle of the week saying should a guy get paid off the first half of his career? There's no other way around it unless you stay with the same team, unless you pull a Tony Gwynn who took a discount.
Just not going to see that anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's going to happen. Somebody was going to give Pujols that money. The only person that's not going to get ripped off are the Cardinals because they got him for the last 8 or 9 years or whatever it is.
No, I think you're right.
I mean, obviously there's nowhere for him to go down. I mean, he's not going to. What has he got? He's 32 years old. We think.
We never know.
So he's probably. I mean, and there's no doubt he's the best, arguably the best hitter in the game.
Well,
I mean,
there's nobody you want hitting 4 on your team. Than that guy. I mean, honestly, there's not been a guy that's more consistent than that guy over the last 10 years. I mean, that's a long
I heard
time.
something funny. Actually, today on the way over here, I heard Bobby Abreu was upset and he wants out. Like,
Bobby Abreu.
Peace, dude. I mean, who needs you anymore?
Listen,
what is this?
You can't get paid for what you did in the home run derby.
Is this a 2009 home run derby?
Yeah, right. You can't. We got to put that away.
Are you kidding me? Go back. I mean,
you got to put that to bed, man.
That guy was garbage with the Yankees.
I was going to say it was all over as soon as he went to New York.
What was he, a Philly before that?
He was in,
He was a Philly, an all-star, whatever, had a great home run derby, and all of a sudden he still wants to be the guy. We signed Albert Pujols. Oh, I'm not the guy. Wah. You weren't the guy last year.
No.
You got outshined by rookies, and I mean, give me a break, Bobby Abreu, you scumbag.
That's a wrap, Bobby. That's a wrap, folks.
Going back to the Angels, another thing I thought was funny is they found out that they found out that. I feel like we're like closing down the restaurant,
right.
Cleaning up the tables around us.
Right.
But one thing I thought was funny, I read they signed that big TV deal just a couple days after they made those big things, the $3 billion something or other.
That's almost.
I'm excited. The only losers, maybe the Cardinals. Who cares? I hate the Cardinals.
Everybody did.
But I would say the National League maybe because it's certainly starting to shift the power. The power's already shifted towards the American League.
You see that after every couple of years.
You got the best pitcher in the game. In my opinion, Justin Verlander's over
guy's
there.
Ridiculous.
CC Sabathia is always amazing. You got all the best players are in the American League. Who do we have? I'm a National League guy. Who do we have? We have Ryan Braun. Okay, who's injecting more cow steroids in him apparently. But he didn't.
He's done.
Right.
Yeah, allegedly.
Some prescription medicine. But
he didn't know what he's putting.
We could get into that here nor there, but it's just. I don't have a problem with what the Angels are doing. Matter of fact, I think it's going to be exciting.
I think so too. On a side note, don't you think it's funny that the guys who use their body for a living, that's how they make their money? They don't know what they're putting into it. Really?
I know everything that goes into my body. I'm like, I'm eating my candy bars or whatever. Yeah. Give me a break, Ryan Braun. Are you kidding me? And then he wants to go out there and make the argument. He wants to make the argument that I would have been dead. My testosterone levels were so high, the highest they've ever been. Oh well, congratulations.
Pull fucking needle out of your ass, dude.
It's fake testosterone. I mean, give me a break. Dude. God, that guy. Yeah. You know what?
That's ridiculous.
And as a Cubs fan, I mean, I've learned to hate the guy the last 3 years, but there's no doubt it's such a huge hit to baseball. He is. Can you name a better younger player than Ryan Braun? He
was young, had a clean image.
Dude. I mean, he was.
That guy was it.
He was the guy, And Bud Selig, he plays in Bud Selig's little hometown.
Oh man, that's
and it's so funny how
double whammy. Couldn't have a nicer guy.
How all these guys are coming out saying that Bud Selig is turning an eye, and why wouldn't he?
Well, yeah.
I can't hate on Bud Selig for turning an eye. Look what's happening here.
That's a black eye for the sport. That's the big knock on the sport is just the amount of guys juicing. I mean, personally, as far as the Hall of Fame goes, I really don't care about an asterisk. I mean, if you can hit 700 bombs, I mean,
on steroids or not,
I don't give it. You still got to hit a round ball squarely. You still got to do that.
You know what? One thing that I don't think the average sports fan realizes is that these juiced up Maguires and stuff like that, they were hitting home runs off juiced up pitchers.
That's very true.
Let's be honest here.
That's very true.
Everybody was doing it.
And let's be honest. I mean, when you get a guy of Maguire's caliber, back in the day, a guy at Bonds in his heyday. I mean, if they're not getting intentionally walked, I mean, they're getting the best fastball, the extra snap in that hook. I mean, they are getting everything that guy has.
So carefully, yeah, I agree.
And if you could put it over the wall, still take the asterisks off, let them in.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think that does for the Brewers, who just signed Ramos, by the way?
Oh, did they? I didn't even see that.
They signed a Ramos 3-year deal.
Maybe I don't know.
Should turn on your computer. It happened like 3 or 4 days ago.
Is that right? I don't know, man. I got a screaming kid.
We're trying to run a podcast here.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. But yeah, no. I mean, which helps
I'm not going to miss the guy. I mean, how many more years are you going to get out of that guy?
How can you say that? And I mean, the guy's obviously the best player on our team.
He is now
on the Cubs. Excuse me.
Yeah, right.
On the Cubs, but
did he correct himself? Our team, Cubs. Is that what you?
Well, I mean, I don't want to turn this into Homer Radio and start talking about firing Norv and everything. But I mean, no, I don't know. We'll see what it is. Brewers won the division. They're going to lose Prince Fielder. Brian Braun's going to be out 50 games, and if he's not,
well, they're going to lose Prince Fielder to a heart attack sooner or later. I mean, let's be honest. The guy's not going to be around forever. That guy's huge. Come on. Come on, man. That guy's huge. That guy's getting bigger by the year.
The guy's huge. He's still playing.
The guy's a professional athlete.
You know, the guy finishes. That's more than you can say about your boys.
For now.
So you can see any other topics here you want to talk about? I know we're running a little late.
Actually, what do you think about your boy Ndamukong Suh? I actually like the guy, to be honest. Yeah,
I think that story about him untying the shoes is hilarious. And you know what's funny?
Never thought of that, actually.
What's funny is on Sunday I was looking. One of my buddies at work was telling me, I wonder if he's going to have his shoes taped. And I looked, and he didn't. He did not have his shoes. So I'm thinking, hey,
why the fuck wouldn't you tie him?
Go and tie those bastards again.
I would keep doing it, man. Get him thrown out. We can open up those lanes.
What are you going to stomp on my shoulder pad with your plastic cleat?
It's all good.
You fat idiot. I mean, come on.
Now all of a sudden, there goes the pass rush. We got no lanes to run through. Untie his shoes. I think that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Fantastic. Yeah, it was. I was.
I was kind of mad.
Pull a term out of your book. I was LOLing. Definitely. When I read that story, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, something so simple, but at the same time, I completely understood how
that
pissed
would piss
off
me off too. I'd be like, motherfucker.
I would have stomped on that asshole too, man.
Yeah, I know.
So I mean, I don't know, but with all that being said.
He doesn't seem to be.
Would I like him on my team? I'm a Charger fan. Of course I would. I mean,
how could you not? The guy's
a monster. The
guy's a maniac, dude. So. That guy just single-handed. Look, you know what's funny is actually as soon as they said that he's only going to get a 1-game suspension.
2 games.
Well, was it 2 games? Yeah, because at first I thought it was only going to be 1. So
they were arguing about it, but it was 2.
Well, as soon as I heard that, I knew that on my parlay, I had to take the Raiders getting 2 because all of a sudden, and guess what? They covered. You can't deny that. Take one guy out of the equation, all of a sudden, like I said, you get a running team. They got lanes to run through. They got a little more time to throw the ball.
I'm a big fan of watching the Lions play, but they got a lot bigger problems than Sue being dirty. And so he's dirty. Somebody's got to be the dirtiest player in the game.
Somebody does.
So what? I mean, it might as well be the best.
Fucking
is he better? Is there a better defensive lineman in the game than him right now?
I can't think of one.
You could argue better pass rushers, Jared Allen, but I mean,
I would take Sue over Allen any day of the week. I mean, I'm not saying Jared Allen isn't.
I don't know.
Jared Allen. I mean, I don't think you're going to find a better defensive end anywhere.
Tom Ali, that guy's a machine. He's uglier than hell, but he's a machine. Did you watch that game last night?
You know what? I watched most of it.
Excuse me.
I watched most of it.
That guy he's something special too. It's just something lacking. Something that the Chargers have been lacking is that big playmaking guy on defense since Merriman, really.
Pretty much. I mean, before Merriman, got busted, and then his knee goes out and his back.
You still can't deny that he was a dominating force.
He was a stud. I mean, I actually was wondering how long that was going to last back in the day. I was like, how long is he going to keep up this pace, or how long is it going to be before he gets busted?
For that, he'll always be one of my favorite guys. He for those 2 years he gave us chasing goofy ass Peyton Manning around. You can't tell me that wasn't exciting.
No, that was beautiful.
So, that was.
What do you think about? I don't know. What do you think about AJ Smith and Norv Turner? I mean, what's your thought on that? Why not? I mean, I don't know. Like, you know what? Don't get me wrong. I always want to see, even if I'm not a fan of the GM or I mean, you always want your team to win. You're always pulling for them, no doubt. But I don't know. It's just that there's been times where I feel like, man, the play calling is just really ordinary and mundane.
See,
am
I the only person in this world that could not disagree with that more? Like,
how so?
Like what? I mean, are guys just wanting? You hear these people, why are we running up the middle? So the Chargers' key to success is having Rivers just stop back, throw the ball as far as he can every single play?
No,
because that's to me what it seems like people want Norv to do.
I see.
A minute left in the half, we're at our own 2-yard line. Drop back and throw it, baby.
Well, you know what I don't like. I'm not like a big. I'm not like shitting on the fact that runs up the middle, every time. But my problem with that is just that, when they get up to a nice, comfortable lead, you'll see.
Which hasn't happened often this season, by the way.
This season, forget about it. Forget about it.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, last season would have been a better example. You get a nice, comfortable lead, 3-possession game, and all of a sudden they take their foot off the gas pedal. And I understand chewing up the clock, but what I like about the Patriots, and say what you will about them, is that they'll step right on your head. They'll run up the score, and I like that. I like not letting people back in the game. I can't. I can't stand that.
Patriots also have a very, very bad defense. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, their defense is almost as bad as their offense is good.
Yeah.
Yep. But you know what? I don't know. I don't. I think there's something to be said for continuity in a team. That's something that you can't necessarily buy. And if you have a guy that has he has all the guys on the same page in the locker room, and it seems like the general consensus is that the players want him to stay. I mean, I don't know what else they're going to say on national TV when asked that question. Now, fuck this guy, get him out of here. Hey, what are they going to say?
You know what? They all seem to like Norv Turner, which is funny how you see something like what happened with the Chiefs this last weekend. They got Romeo Cornell.
Yeah.
Cornell, however you say his name.
Yeah.
But it's almost, now you got all these stories coming out how big of a prick Todd Haley was.
Right.
And how none of those guys like playing for him. I watched
what did the guy do last year?
I watched Mike Goff, former Charger, who also finished his career with the Chiefs, I believe. Or maybe he came back for one season.
I think you might be right.
But he played for him, and he was saying there's no secret about it that he was saying Todd Haley's a dick.
Well, so. I mean, but again, I always like watching coaches that are ass chewers. I'm a big fan of that. Remember Mike Riley back in the day?
I do.
Cookies and ice cream, doesn't matter if you win or lose.
Yeah,
right.
I remember that.
Right.
I do.
I like the polar opposite of that. And the one thing you can say about two things you could say about Todd Haley actually is that, number one, when were we ever talking about the Chiefs in the playoffs before last year? I mean, in the last 10 years.
Okay.
It's always the Chargers and the Broncos.
I'm a firm believer. These guys are professional athletes. As a semi-pro athlete myself. Joke. But these guys are professionals.
Trophy.
So,
semi-pro athlete. Go ahead.
As a semi-pro, I don't always have to pay all the teams I play on. So,
oh, you don't have to pay now?
Not always.
All right.
Sometimes I throw a few bucks at the umpire's way.
Nothing wrong with that.
Todd Haley didn't win that. Okay, Todd Haley did not win.
No, he didn't win that.
Jamal Charles won that.
You're right. And again,
and Moyaki and Eric Berry, all guys that are hurt this season.
Well, that was my next thing. Is just that in the first 3-4 weeks of the season, you're gonna lose your starting quarterback, your starting running back. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know that firing the guy was the right thing. I mean, Romeo Cornell, where has he won? Has that guy ever won anywhere? He was didn't he get fired from the Browns? The Browns?
I don't know. Or was that Mangini, or maybe both of them? Maybe both. These are your boys' little cronies.
Oh,
so
I don't know about the Browns, man.
Well, we're running late on time. You wanna
Are we running
wrap
late, guys?
it up, or you wanna
keep going? We can keep going. All right. Yeah. No, I was gonna say. No, I don't even know how long we've been on, dude. But it's all good. Actually, you know what? This is a good one. I want to talk about Lesnar Overeem. What do you think about that?
So tough. It's so tough to it's.
I don't like the thing I don't like about that is just that
we're pulling a fat man and little boy here. So
what are we doing?
We're coming up on an hour. I think we're starting to lose.
Are we coming up on an hour? No bullshit. I thought this meant keep going, dude.
Yeah.
I thought that meant keep going.
No,
I'm sorry.
We wrap it up. No. You asked me a question.
Have we been bullshitting for an hour? Jesus, man. Jesus, I didn't even know that. Here I was worried.
It's been fun, man. It's
all good.
But to answer that question, it's so hard for me to count Lesnar out of anything because he's so big and athletic and such a good wrestler.
One punch. That's
but then
all
again, it's so hard for me. I mean, it's just so hard for me to put my money on him. I mean, even if I wasn't, it's so hard for me to confidently say, I think Lesnar's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fought 3 good strikers, and those 3 strikers have made him look terrible.
And that's my problem.
Just as big. And
you're talking
a
K1 level striker at that. That was the thing. If you watch Lesnar and Cain Velasquez, it seems though as soon as Lesnar wasn't able to lock him up for a takedown, a game plan was gone. He had none. He had none after that.
He looked terrible.
He got boxed up. I'd never seen stand up so ugly.
Even his name's slipping my mind, but that striker that he ended up beating, but took an absolute beating the first round. Juicer, what's his name?
Lesnar or Overeem?
Lesnar, 2 fights ago. He ended up beating him, but anyway, should have done my research. I didn't realize we were going to hit this.
I'm drawing a blank too.
but he was getting absolutely manhandled the first round. And, And
Carwin.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, Carwin. You know what?
We're professionals.
Yeah, you know what? I just think that it's really hard to put your money on. It's hard to count the guy out, and it's hard in this situation to put your money on him. I mean, just given the fact that Overeem's a K1 level striker.
That holds no water with me. The K1 shit.
Not necessarily. Well,
what time of day you find that K1 shit on?
I don't know. Like,
he's just a good MMA striker. I don't think
he's got precision. Okay, so he's a technical striker at heavyweight, and I number one, I'm hard pressed to find a guy that Lesnar can who's Lesnar seen that has that level of striking other than Cain Velasquez that manhandled him,
and that's just that big, and just as big as him.
He can't take him down. He's not that guy. And that I think that guy's juicing, but that's another story for another day. But
maybe he should come hit third for the Cubs.
Shit, hit third for anybody, dude.
Don't bother me.
Or you can fill in for Sue, for Christ's sake. You know? But and then ring rust is a factor too. I don't think you're gonna. I'm a believer in ring rust.
Talk about throwing a guy to the wolves first fight back.
Guy's been on the shelf for a year and a half.
His guts taken out.
Yeah,
and for the second time now.
Yeah.
So I mean that's. The problem is there's really no sellable tomato cans you can throw them in the heavyweight division.
Not anymore, and that's the thing. Where does Lesnar go after a loss by Overeem, especially if it's a decisive loss? I mean, maybe a third matchup with Frank Mir.
But the people were already not wanting to see that fight.
But a lot of people don't want to see that.
Frank Mir
does.
It's a whole other topic, whole other conversation. We'll get into that later. But Frank Mir is one of those guys, man. Talk about when he wins, the guy looks so impressive. But I've never seen a guy lose so bad. And, they could blame him on his motorcycle accident.
Whatever.
Yeah, his daddy died too. Yeah, Did you see him kiss his daddy on the lips, by the way? We were talking about
I didn't see that.
He's done this twice now. You see his dad walks him down to the octagon.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay. Before they get in, they're all hugging their training partners and everything, and good luck. He kisses his dad on the lips.
Man.
And I don't know, maybe it's just the way I was raised.
Can't say I've never kissed another man on the lips.
Isn't that weird?
Even if it is your dad. I mean,
we were talking about this. I mean, it's one thing to be a 5-year-old little boy. No, I'm going to go kiss daddy. But
no,
he's 30-some-odd years old, and it was a little freaky. I don't know.
I don't know. That's
kind of. But then again, watching him rip the guy's arm off. I mean, what am I going to?
What's more upsetting? I don't know. Go tell him that.
Hey, Frankie. Yeah, you and your daddy are faggots.
I'm going to make sure I'm up in the nosebleed section where I always sit.
Yeah, his dad. His dad. Frank Mir's dad is in the same category to me as Clay Guida's brother. I mean, are you kidding me? Hold on to those coattails, baby. Why are you even on the side, sit in the stands with the wife and the rest of the people? I mean, are you in there holding pads for your son? Maybe you are, but who cares?
Maybe. I don't know. It's almost as bad as seeing Bisping's son in the fucking cage after he wins. Makes me sick. Almost threw something in my Bravia, for God's sake. Yeah. All right, you guys. So, are we done? We wrapping it up?
Yeah, it's been fun. I think that went well.
It's good. There's plenty of room for things on the cutting room floor. I'll say that much. All right, bitches. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for listening to Out of Bounds Sports Talk.
We'll see you Thursday, maybe.
Hoping to film a weekly podcast. And don't forget, we'll be making a cameo appearance on the Fat Man Little Boy show this Thursday.
Be sure to tune in. I'm excited.
And, I'm excited too.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, you guys. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.